The Blue Jackets have lost 3 games in a row, but don't worry, it's not time to panic yet, and we're going to tell you why on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host, Jay Foster. With me is my co-host, Hayden Heilshorn. Again, I feel like it's been a minute since we recorded an episode together, but it's fine. We are both back in our respective states, and we're ready to talk about the Blue Jackets, because that's what this is. It's a podcast about your favorite team and ours, the Columbus Blue Jackets. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. If you want to become an everydayer, then you can like and subscribe wherever you get podcasts on YouTube and on SiriusXM. I also have to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. The Blue Jackets have lost 3 games in a row, Hayden. I don't know if it's time to panic yet, though. I think it's very easy to be like, we've lost 3 games in a row. The sky is falling. Patrick Laine is going to be out probably for the next couple of weeks at least. The Blue Jackets can't seem to buy a goal, and they can't win in overtime. But I think what I've noticed from the last handful of games, the Blue Jackets are doing a lot of the little things right. And there's no such thing as like a moral victory in hockey, but if they keep playing the way that they do, I feel pretty good about that. I feel like they've lost all of the games that they've won this year. I think they haven't necessarily been playing as well as they could. All of the games they play really well, they seem to lose. So at some point, you've got to figure that balance is out, and they start winning some of the games that they should be winning, and then probably losing some of the games that they should be losing, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that 100% makes sense. I think to your point, first of all, it's great to see your face. It's been a while since we were back together. Last time we were together, Dylan was with us. So, which great first episode with Dylan. Whole second half of that interview coming to you guys later this week. So that should be fun. But to your point, Jay, the Blue Jackets were a couple shots away from winning 4 games in a row. They had 2 overtime losses going into this one on Saturday night, and what can you say? Varlamov, he's an experienced goalie. He was a stud. I even think the Blue Jackets beat him a couple times. Jack Roslovic specifically beat him once. And, first of all, Roslovic has had, the Blue Jackets have had some great individual performances every single game. It's not like the team has totally let up stinkers in their losses. I still think that loss to the Red Wings earlier this year was their ugliest loss. That being said, you've played they have a problem scoring goals at home for some reason. I don't know why that is, but Jay, they've only had 2 goals in the last 2 home games, 5 goals in the last 3 home games. What's going on with this team? It's definitely a concern. I've specifically talked about this because, you've been less worried about guys like Johnny Gaudreau, Kirill Marchenko, but it's kind of like we're still waiting for those guys to score goals. And I know I'm going on a huge tangent here about everything that's been going on, but it's where was Kirill Marchenko in the lineup last night? I didn't understand the reasoning why Pascal Vincent, is deciding to bench him or healthy scratch him. It's just, if he's going to play those games, that's fine. I'm sure he's got a reason. I know Pascal Vincent is definitely the how are you doing in practice kind of thing, but it's Kirill Marchenko's is 2 goals a night waiting to happen, and he's not going to break this streak of not scoring if he's not on the ice. So that was my big worry, but you're right, Jay. The team doesn't look terrible despite the scoreline not looking great from Saturday night.
Yeah, exactly. And like to your point about Jack Roslovic, I'm fully willing to eat my words. He is a super, super streaky player, like, and maybe even streakier than Oliver Bjorkstrand, who I think was notably a streaky player. But Jack Roslovic's on a little heater at the minute. I like that top line a lot. But I agree with. Do I agree? I personally wouldn't have benched Kromachenko. I don't know that benching him is the worst because, and we talked about this a little bit with Dylan, right? Is that he's pushing a little too hard right now. I think the fact that it's been 7 games and he hasn't scored a goal yet, I think that's starting to like eat at him a little bit, I think. And I'm not opposed to him sitting for a game, watching the game from above, and maybe, resetting a little bit. I want to see him back in the lineup tonight against the Stars. He was rotating in on the 4th line in practice on Sunday morning, I believe it was. I've lost all track of when anything happens anymore. I don't know how I feel about that. Especially because they seem to have pushed Voronkov up onto the 3rd line, and we'll talk about Voronkov in a little bit. But my worry is that once he gets kind of pushed out of the lineup and out of the top 6, because there isn't really an argument to take Jack Roslovic out of the top 6 at the minute. So what do you do with Kromachenko? Do you put him on that 2nd line with Texier and Fantilli? Do you put him on the 3rd line? Do you put him on the 4th line? There's not I don't know what the answer is here, but I'm pretty sure the answer is Kromachenko is a top 6 player and should continue to be a top 6 player. But I understand them not wanting to mess with the Roslovic, Gaudreau, Jenner line, because that was far and away the best line in the game against the Islanders. I'm just pulling that up now. They had almost 60% of the shot share at 5v5. 22 attempts for 16 against when those 3 players were on the ice. So I don't know what the answer is here, but you've got to keep Jack Roslovic where he is until his hot streak ends, at least. But I want to see Kromachenko get back in the game. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes tonight. I wouldn't be surprised to see him score a goal tonight, because we've seen Kent Johnson, how he responded to being healthy scratched. I thought he had a really good game. The 2nd game of the season, his first one. I didn't think he was great against the Islanders, but I also don't think he had the best matchup or anything with the against the Islanders. So I'm excited to see how he responds, and I'm excited to see how Kromachenko responds to this healthy scratch, because it's 1 game. It's fine. If it starts being 3, 4, 5 games, then I would be like, right, okay, what's going on here. But right now, not the most worried I've ever been about a player on the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, and the Blue Jackets, I mean, I'm saying all this because that's the easy take for me to have. Obviously, I am significantly attached to Kromachenko because I had him as my best player from my season reviews. And you had Kent Johnson from your best player for your season reviews. So Pascal Vincent just loves the healthy scratch. Our best
Pascal Vincent is victimizing us personally, I think. He's been listening to Locked On Blue Jackets, and he's like, you know what I'm going to do? F these guys in particular.
Yeah. Yeah, no, honestly, it feels like that. But I think to your point, too, there is nothing wrong with being healthy scratched, because at the end of the day, it's going to be a long NHL season. And if your players are in a little bit of a funk, yeah, maybe it is okay to just have them sit up in the press box and watch the game. And, I'm sure Kromachenko watched that game last night on Saturday night and thought to himself, man, I could really be helping this team out right now. I'm sure Patrick Laine feels the same way too. Obviously, Patrick Laine is still dealing with that injury from that hit from Rasmus Andersson, which, doing the math now, it's been 4 games since that hit, and Rasmus Andersson was suspended 4 games, so that feels about right, but it does kind of suck now that you're maybe losing him for a 5th and 6th game. It's the NHL, so we don't know what his status is kind of day to day with him, but, I'm sure we'll have more thoughts on this game here. I know we're pressing up against a break, but yeah, it's the Blue Jackets they're just a game away, it feels like, from having a bunch of players fill up the net all at the same time. It seems like every single game they have a different streakier player having a good performance. And right now it's Adam Fantilli and Jack Roslovic, I think, are the 2 best forwards, and Johnny Gaudreau still looks great out there. He's looked great all season, just hasn't found the back of the net, and at some point he is going to, but I still have more thoughts on this game. I know we got to hit a break, so I'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, we'll take a break in a second. I just wanted one last quick thought on Kromachenko and the healthy scratch. I think a lot of people, myself included, when we talk about Blue Jackets fans, are wary of a healthy scratch because it never felt like Brad Larson or John Tortorella would healthy scratch them for the right reason. But Pascal Vincent, again, every time he says something, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I wanted you to say. You know, he keeps saying the right things. He keeps doing things that maybe don't make sense to us. And there are some things that I would change about the way he utilizes his lineup and the way he rotates guys in and out. But as of right now, I am willing to get, until something egregious happens, I'm willing to give Pascal Vincent the benefit of the doubt. In a minute, I think we'll talk about what we want to see from the Blue Jackets when they take on the Stars tonight, because I personally would like to see some goals, but we'll talk about something a little bit more specific than that coming up in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, though, I've got to tell you guys about Game Time, because I don't know about you, but I hate to do things last minute, but I'm also very bad at planning. Luckily, Game Time is here. I can buy last minute tickets for sport, music, comedy, theater, killer deals, all in prices. You can get views from your seat so you know whether you're even going to be able to see the ice, the singer, whoever. And they've got a best price guarantee. If you find seats in your row and section for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. I've been using Game Time basically since I got to the States because I get better deals there than I do on any other nameless ticketing app. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets are playing tonight. They're playing the Dallas Stars. It's going to be a tough game, I think. The Dallas Stars have been playing exceptionally well to start this season. I believe they are in their last... so far this season, they are 4-1-1. Jake Ottinger playing fantastically, has not lost in regulation yet, has a .952 save percentage. Maybe we'll get lucky and get the backup, but there's no way to know that. The Stars are just a really, really good team, and it's going to be tough to beat them. Their power play, I think, is going to be where the Blue Jackets need to shine. I think their penalty kill needs to be really good. I don't expect them to score on the power play. The Stars currently have the second best penalty kill in the league. They also don't allow a lot of goals. So if the Blue Jackets get, maybe 2 or 3 goals behind, that's going to be a tough game to win because I can't see the Blue Jackets scoring more than 3 goals against a goalie like Ottinger, who, for my money, is the best young goalie in the league today.
Wow. Yeah, that's a hot take. But, I mean, I guess they've been backing it up because if you look at the odds I'm on FanDuel right now for Stanley Cup 2023-2024 outright betting odds. They have the 4th best odds, tied with the Devils and Knights at 11-1 to win the Stanley Cup. So they're obviously a very deep team. Joe Pavelski, he's a beast. Tyler Seguin, Oscar Robertson, and this new Wyatt Johnston kid who is just picked up right where he left off last year, getting 40 points, and now he's second on the team in points. So they're sick, they're nasty, and if they can get a win on the road, it seems like this year, I don't know if you feel like this, Jay, but the Blue Jackets in 2 road games, it's crazy to think that they've only played 2 road games this year, but they have an even goal differential. So I think this team plays with a little bit of edge on the road, and I think Columbus is constantly going to have the advantage of they're going to go into the arena and their opponent thinks that they can beat them easily because they're the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're rebuilding. They had that huge fallout with Mike Babcock in the offseason. That's how the outside world thinks of Columbus. So I think the Jackets have a real opportunity to shock the hockey world tonight and get a win against Dallas. Will it happen? I don't know. But I'm quite excited for the challenge set forth in front of this Blue Jackets team. I really am. I think it could be a good game. And at the very least, try to get a point tonight. That's never going to be bad, going to American Airlines and getting a point from there. But heck, just go get a whole 2 points and change this whole thing around, because when they get away from Nationwide Arena is just in shambles so far this year. I mean, first they had the power outage. Who knows what was going on with the game clock the other night, making Greg Murray announce the time every 30 seconds. Like, what are we doing over at Nationwide? That place is truly, truly haunted this year, it seems like. But yeah, I think this is a good opportunity for Columbus tonight.
Yeah, I agree. And I also agree the Blue Jackets have been, correct me if I'm wrong, the Blue Jackets had 9 victories away from Nationwide last season. Very, very few victories on the road last season.
You're right. Correct.
They're already 1-0-1. So they have 1 win and 1 overtime loss away from Nationwide. So like they're already a 9th of the way to being as good as they were last season, and they've only had 2 away games. Whatever it is, I think you're absolutely right. I think a lot of teams underestimate the Blue Jackets. I also think, and this is something I've kind of been mulling over a little while, the Blue Jackets this season have kind of been playing to the level of their opponent. And this is a problem that they used to have massively with the Tortorella era, of they would show up against the big guys and, go toe-to-toe with them, and then they would just absolutely fall apart against, some of the lower-ranked teams. The Blue Jackets have kind of been doing the same thing this year. If you notice, they beat Calgary, who is supposed to be a playoff team, and who are, in fairness to Calgary, struggling mightily so far this season. Minnesota as well, supposed to be a playoff team. They beat the Rangers, supposed to be a playoff team. They lost to the Flyers. They lost to the Red Wings, the Ducks, the Habs, and the Islanders. So I think the Islanders game was actually, and we've moved on from that a little bit, but something that I was thinking about was, this is a team that the Blue Jackets should be hanging with, because it could be down to these 2 teams for the final playoff spot in the East, So if they can be competitive against the Islanders, I think that's a really, really good sign. Because I don't know where the Islanders are in the standings right now, but I think the Islanders are having a pretty good start to the season. Let me pull them up. Yeah, they're 4-2-1 right now. Blue Jackets are 3-3-2, so they're 3-5 really, but they're still technically, they're NHL 500 right now. They were ahead of the Capitals until the Capitals beat the Sharks earlier today in what was just the most brutal game to watch. That was not a fun game to watch. So at least the Blue Jackets are playing competitively, and at least the Blue Jackets are playing fun hockey most of the time, and that was kind of what I had as a goal going into this season, was let's be competitive and let's be fun, because they were neither last season. So I feel pretty good about this. I think they're going to come in, or, go into, Dallas, and I think they're going to be competitive. And I think they're going to maybe get a couple of quick goals. I think they're going to score first. Which kind of brings us to some predictions, because I looked up the, our stats. I am still sitting on 1 whole point out of a possible 24 points. Hayden has yet to get on the board. So what are your predictions for game 9 of the season, Hayden? Who's going to score first, and who is going to, what's the final score going to be?
Yeah, if you look at Dallas, you are correct on just maybe Ottinger, one of the better goalies in the league this year. He's only, them as a team, they've only allowed 15 goals, which is the best in the Central Division. They've also only scored 17 goals. So
yeah, definitely take the under on this one, guys.
Yeah. But that being said, the Blue Jackets have done complete opposite of what I've thought every single game. And I feel like, you know what? I'm not going to think the Blue Jackets just come into this one and score a lot of goals. I'm going to take the under. We're doing good on unders this year, I feel like, you and I, Jay. So I'm going to stick with that. You let me have the floor first on this one. So I'm going to take a 3-2 Johnny Gaudreau goal to start the game. 3-2 win for Columbus.
Okay, I am gonna, you know what? I'm gonna take even more of the under, I think. I'm gonna go with a 2-1 win. And I am gonna go with, this feels like a risky pick because we don't even know if he's gonna play, but I'm gonna go with Marchenko. I think Marchenko, if Marchenko plays tonight, I think he scores tonight. So I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna say Marchenko. Based on how your predictions are going, we should look for Johnny Gaudreau to score his first goal of the game after the start, because you're real good at picking like who's going to score next
Yeah.
game. So
Yeah, I
I
mean,
might just do that. I might just start picking whoever you picked last. So to see if that gets me some more points. But I'm excited about this game. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be exciting. And I think it's going to be a real chance for the Blue Jackets to prove that they can hang with the playoff teams in this league. We'll take another quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to do a little Monsters Monday chat, because the Monsters are doing pretty good down in the AHL at the minute. So we'll talk about that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, though, I'm going to tell you guys about FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers are going to get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. You can bet Stanley Cup, you can bet awards, you can bet tonight. If you want to put money on Marchenko or Gaudreau scoring a goal, you can do that at FanDuel.com. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. You get paid immediately. You don't have to wait for your deposits to land. So that's really great. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Kick off the NFL season. Enjoy the NHL season. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL, and also us, the Locked On Podcast Network. So I wanted to highlight a couple of players that are playing for the Monsters at the minute, because the Monsters, for the first time in a little while, are killing it, quite frankly. They completed a weekend sweep over the Chicago Wolves, and they had a bunch of guys get their first pro points, which is real great. They're currently on a 3-game winning streak. They beat the Syracuse Crunch, and then they beat Grand Rapids Griffins on Friday, and then they beat the Chicago Wolves yesterday, or Saturday night, excuse me, with a big 7-3 win. They're just, I don't know, they're really impressing me at the minute, but I wanted to particularly highlight Luca Del Bel-Belluz, who, this was, I believe, his first game with the Monsters, and he recorded 2 assists in his first game, his second game, excuse me. So he played both games this weekend and had 2 assists. So he's currently a point per game, which rules. Igor Chinikov played in his first weekend with the Monsters after healing from that lower body injury, or that back injury, I think it was. Scored a goal. James Malatesta with his first point as well. Just the kids are getting it done. Obviously, Trofik Swansky continues to kill it. He's got 8 points in 6 games, but the Monsters currently 4-2. And if I just pull up the league standings, I believe they are 4th in their division right now. Yes, 4th in their division with 8 points. The leaders, the Rochester Americans, only have 11. So I'm excited about the Monsters at the minute. Is there anything about the Monsters that you kind of want to get people excited for, Hayden?
Well, for those that, for the everydayers that listen to, I guess this would be a spoiler because you have not heard the part where Dylan Tyre talks about the prospects. So I caught myself there, but and I'm not going to say the player that he mentioned under the radar, but obviously Trofik Swansky, he's got 8 points in 6 games. Like, he's just so easy for me to root for. Personally, Samuel Konasco, who's I'd like to see a little bit more of him. He's just played in the 1 game this year, but he's got a point in that game. Carson Myers got 5 points in 6 games. Nick Blankenberg's got 4 and 6. So, this whole team is just producing. It's totally different than looking at the Blue Jackets stat page, because Blue Jackets just they will score 5 goals 1 game and then go 0-2-0 the next 3 games, it seems like, for Columbus. But so they're really fun to watch right now. They have tons of dudes that have NHL experience. Blankenberg, Robinson, Chinikov, and then a bunch of other guys that got games last year. Hunter McCown is a player that I've really enjoyed watching last year in the few games that he played in Columbus. So I don't know, Jay, if there's a single guy that doesn't get me excited when I look at their roster, man. Like, it's just all these guys we talked about.
I also want to give a shout out because I am who I am. Jack Greaves is currently 4-1 on the season, has a .909 save percentage, has allowed 13 goals on 143 shots. So he's probably seeing a few more shots than I would like. I'm just going to do some real quick math on how many he's taking. Okay, that's only 28, 29 shots on average a game, but allowing 13 goals in 5 games, I'm really happy with Jet Greaves. I know that we've talked at length about how much we like Jet Greaves and Pavel Chayan in the Blue Jackets organization, but he's really, really looking like he's shaping up to be a very intriguing goalie prospect. Not even for the Monsters, but for the Blue Jackets. I think that's a player that people should be excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've said that for the everydayers. We say that like every episode, every time.
Every other episode, it's like, hey, have you heard about Jet Greaves? We love Jet Greaves.
Yes, and he was great in the preseason. So this whole team is phenomenal, and I'm just gonna encourage everybody to keep following us this week and listen to that episode listen to the second half of the episode with Dylan Tyre, because he talks a lot about the Monsters and a closer in-depth look. But you're right, they've won 3 straight games, and they got the Griffins again on Wednesday night. A little home stretch here for Cleveland to start November. You know, they're going home, and home all the way Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. So fun rest of the week for the Monsters up in Cleveland, and maybe they can make it 6 in a row and just shoot up the AHL standings.
Just gonna knock on wood there.
Yeah, I'm gonna knock on wood.
We know what happens when we start saying, hey, this team's gonna win a bunch of games in a row because we're cursed.
Yep. They're actually going to lose the next 3 games in a row. How about that?
I second Hayden's thoughts. Definitely check out. So it's going to be Wednesday that the second half of our conversation with Dylan Tyre drops. We asked a couple of questions about prospects, and he gave some really, really great in-depth answers. So if you want to start learning about the Monsters, then there are worse people to learn from than Dylan. Quite honestly, he was really great. Tomorrow, we are going to be talking about tonight's game, hopefully talking about a win. I feel like it's been a minute since we've been able to talk about a win. But it's been like a week. We're fine. I'm being melodramatic here. It's fine. But it'd be nice to talk about a win, especially against the Stars. Everydayers know about my one-sided feud with the Dallas Stars that I won't get into right now. But I've been Jay Foster. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster. You can find Hayden over at HaydenH971. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email us at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you for making us. I lost track of where I was going there. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. If you want to become an everydayer, you can find us on wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find us on YouTube, and you can find us on SiriusXM. Once again, tomorrow we'll be breaking down tonight's game against the Dallas Stars and hopefully adding some points to our leaderboard of predictions. But until then, make sure you stay locked on.